Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
To local news now, and former Attorney General Elise Archer has lodged a complaint with the Director of Public Prosecutions, accusing Jeremy Rockcliffe of intimidation. Still smarting from her sacking and the Premier's stare-down, the saga remains a distraction for the government.
It was a different-looking chamber when Parliament sat this morning. Nick Duigan took his place as Minister, and the government was a member shy with no Elise Archer. But her sensational sacking still hung over the chamber.
Premier, can you confirm the former Attorney General Elise Archer has this morning made a formal request to the Director of Public Prosecutions that you be investigated?
Claiming a breach of the criminal code and that the Premier intimidated her by threatening to call an election if she refused to resign or give supplying confidence to the government.
Do you honestly believe, when it comes to the actions I took, as a result of the circumstances, that I did the wrong thing?
Yeah. Saying he merely asked for clarity from Ms Archer.
This is an unprecedented situation in Tasmania, and it needs to be treated with the utmost seriousness and sensitivity. The Premier should stand aside if this investigation takes place.
There are concerns the day's events may have overshadowed the Commission of Inquiry response. However, the Premier today announced new measures to scrutinise state servants. A joint safety and accountability team is assessing all alleged perpetrators and previous allegations.
There is a mistaken perception that some state servants and other individuals have not or will not be held accountable. I want to stress that this is not the case.
Sections of the Commission of Inquiry Act that impeded the push for justice will be reviewed by the Tasmanian Law Reform Institute, something they already did after the last Commission of Inquiry in 2003. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Rapid bus transit and a Derwent ferry network underpin the draft Hobart transport solution released today. Feedback's being sought on the plan, which includes long-awaited Tasman Bridge upgrades and cycling infrastructure.
The plan that I'm releasing today will provide better connections, it will provide a better experience, and it will provide commuters with more choice.
The goal is for 10% of trips to be on public transport, but the government is still facing an agitated metro mechanic workforce excluded from a recent rescue package.
That's great news for the drivers, but everyone knows there's no point having more drivers when you don't have enough mechanics to repair and service the buses to ensure that buses are on the road.
Transport Minister Michael Ferguson told Parliament today the union's ask in wage negotiations is unreasonable. Meanwhile, Tasmanian public nurses have accepted a landmark pay deal from the state government, guaranteeing their most competitive wage offer in years. But private nurses are yet to reach the same breakthrough, still waiting for movement on their negotiations.
Striking a deal of the decade, Tasmania's public nurses and midwives are voting yes to a historic pay agreement.
It's a really positive step forward to paving the way to a much brighter outlook for nurses and midwives in Tasmania.
ANMF Tasmania is welcoming the comprehensive offer, confident it addresses key issues around recruiting, retaining and recognising members.
The government have recognised that nurses and midwives are the backbone of the health service.
Couldn't be more pleased with our work with the nursing representatives. It's been a fair and affordable outcome for all concerned.
The agreement brings an end to 11 months of negotiations. Wages will jump from December 1, bringing Tasmanian nurses in line with or even above the national average.
But it also goes further than that in terms of looking at additional factors that contribute to fatigue and exhaustion, and that's improving the workload model with a move to ratios.
While public nurses are celebrating a win today, members in the private sector are locked in a battle with Calvary, with their enterprise agreement negotiations yet to hammer out a deal.
The ANMF are yet to receive that workload clause on behalf of members, but we're hopeful that we will receive that soon and we can take that back to members for their consideration.
Late this afternoon, Calvary responded to that request, saying it continues to work with the union to address concerns and possible solutions, and Calvary remains hopeful of reaching a positive outcome in the near future. But before then, more industrial action is on the cards. Victoria Easto, 7 Tasmania News.
An inquest into the death of an elderly Sandy Bay couple has continued in the Hobart Magistrates Court. 2 family members giving evidence today, telling their version of the final hours of David and Nelda Edwards' lives 7 years ago.
Hand in hand, the family of David and Nelda Edwards left court, emotions running high. Day 2 of an inquest into how and why the couple died in March 2016 saw their son Lee and daughter-in-law Vivian Edwards take the stand, recounting the final hours of the Sandy Bay couple's lives, who passed away just 2 days apart. Son Lee telling the court they decided they didn't want to be here anymore. They stopped eating and drinking after the unrelated death of their son Glendon in Thailand a month earlier. Son Stephen Edwards was previously charged with the murder of his mother after she was allegedly administered a cocktail of drugs by the then GP, but had the charges dropped after he became gravely ill. Stephen's brother Lee told the coroner about a spoonful of clear liquid, which Stephen had allegedly given to both David and Nelda, making them quite lucid and happy, he described. While Vivian recounted a conversation with Stephen, who allegedly told her to give Nelda more medication if she woke up, telling Coroner Cooper she definitely wouldn't, despite his expertise as a doctor. Adding she didn't know when asked if her husband Robert was present when Stephen gave his mother the drugs. "I didn't ask, I assume doctors do what doctors do." Brother Lee Edwards described his relationship with Stephen as fantastic, telling the court Stephen was the one looking after their health and well-being. He would monitor them. The 5-day inquest will continue tomorrow, with Stephen Edwards set to appear sometime this week to speak about his alleged involvement in the deaths of his parents. Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
A coroner has found the death of a young Tasmanian boxer on the Midland Highway in July last year was the result of her own reckless driving. Danielle Clayton died after her car left the southern outlet and crashed into a rock face. The report says the 22-year-old was travelling at almost twice the speed limit, impaired by numerous illicit and prescription drugs, and was not wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash. Coroner Olivia McTaggart says her death represents the loss of life of a talented young woman. Tasmanians are being urged not to throw away their old bread as part of a campaign to stop food waste. Across the country, more than 450 million loaves find their way to landfill each year. But some of the state's top foodies say there's plenty you can do with a not-so-fresh loaf.
For Pigeonhole's bakers, food waste is serious business.
To see how many hands touch the loaf in the process, to see it wasted and thrown away or end up in landfill at the end of the day it is upsetting.
The bread maker's business model baking in a commitment to avoid the bin.
We bake enough to supply the one day, and we don't bake over what we want to need.
But apparently we aren't following suit. Eat Well Tasmania says we waste around 40% of the food we buy. Nationwide, uneaten bread makes up more than 200,000 tonnes of landfill each year.
When it ends up in landfill, it's not great for our climate, our environment.
Or our wallets. An average family of 4 will spend $2,500 a year on food that just goes to waste. The organisation partnering with some of the state's top foodies, encouraging Tasmanians to think outside the bread box.
There's endless opportunities to be cooking with bread, even when it's stale and old.
Traditionally, a stale loaf was a kitchen staple.
Bread would have been baked and then let to go hard, so you could then just break it up and add it as the carbohydrate portion of your soup instead of potatoes.
Local chef Tom finding a multitude of uses for the humble loaf.
In the restaurant we're making things like misos and amino sauces, so there's a really large range of outlets for it.
But the key takeaway, only buy what you need. And avoid mould by ditching the plastic and using a bread bin.
Something that your grandma probably had, but everyone just what is this? I don't know what it is anymore.
Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
A new ice rink for Tasmania is firming up with the release of a feasibility study showing a growing appetite for ice sports. The report found almost 2/3 of Tasmanians would be interested in visiting an ice rink if the location and price are right. The next step involves finding a new site for a potential facility after the state's only venue in Glenorchy was sold to a private investor last year.
Three quick wickets have given Tasmania's hopes a boost late on day 3 at the Wacker. Western Australia holding out on the Tigers most of the day, led by Sam Whiteman, who cracked 150 moments ago. Cameron Bancroft looked to join him in the ton club until being dismissed for 91 by Jared Freeman. WA trailing Tasmania by 115 runs a short time ago with 7 wickets remaining. Hobart racing prodigy Campbell Logan is on a mission to get his hands on a supercar. After a podium finish overall in the Toyota 86 season, the 19-year-old's dream of driving professionally is closer than ever to reality. From his first win in Townsville back in July,
he's nearly there, he's looking in the mirrors. Kasha goes to the inside, but Logan's got it.
Campbell Logan has never been closer to fulfilling his dream. A standout in the Toyota 86 series on the supercars circuit.
Hey, that was a ripper move from Logan.
The Hobart P-planer wants to be more than the curtain raiser.
It's pretty cool to, race on the supercars calendar. It's definitely a pinch yourself moment. It's a dream come true for me, but hopefully I can be racing with the big boys soon.
Plotting a move to the Super 2 series is the next step towards getting the key to a supercar and a professional career.
An evaluation day is held at a racetrack. They put you and a bunch of other young drivers in the car, and if you shine, then they'll take you on board.
Racing is not a cheap hobby. The 86 series costs $80,000 to $100,000 a year, and you can see why.
Oh, this could be big on top of the mountain.
The step to Super 2, upwards of $500,000.
I don't get paid yet. That's what I want to be. First and foremost, I want to be a professional race car driver, and secondly, a champion in supercars. But yeah, without my great supporters and backers, it just would not be possible.
After finishing 6th overall last year to 2nd this year, Campbell's dream seems to be on track.
I would have loved to have won, but it ultimately didn't happen, and that's okay. But we'll keep moving forward. If I can move up to Super 2 and start winning there, then that gives me a really good shot of making it into supercars.
19-year-old gun Julia Kavanagh will be somewhat of a secret weapon as she joins the Hurricanes ahead of their WBBL opener on Friday night. The left-arm bowler's signature comes after bursting onto the scene earlier this year in the WNCL, a 3-wicket maiden over among the feathers under her cap.
Left-hander coming in. Just being around the girls while they're training, I think, is going to be such a good time for me to just soak in the experience that they have and anything that they can sort of pass on to me to help with my T20 cricket.
Tabitha Saville rounds out the Canes roster, back in the Big Bash after taking some time away from cricket.
Probably just went away and found myself a little bit. Probably just learnt who I was, and then now I'm back in an elite environment. So yeah, I know myself a bit better now.
Start the season with a challenge, hosting the Scorchers. To hockey, and the Tigers men are ready to go back-to-back after getting their season off the ground in the nation's capital. The 7-0 victory handing them much-needed confidence before taking on Perth, who also have a strong win against Canberra under their belts. The women, meanwhile, are under pressure to record their first win, remaining unfazed, however, by the Fire Sticks' position at second on the ladder.
What can Brooks do here? Nice pass inside, opportunity for...
They're a pretty solid team. They have a really good lineup, a lot of depth, a couple of hockey roos, a lot of up-and-coming young stars. So it's going to be a tough game, but the Tassie Tigers, we really look forward to the challenge.
With the season on the line, Olympic selection isn't front of mind.
Team success is always more important to me than individual success, but if I happen to play well and I crack into the squad next year, then so be it. But yeah, certainly not my priority.
The Tigers host the Thundersticks at home on Friday night.
Good evening. Hobart, 21 degrees. Thank you very much. Launceston 17 today, just 14 in Devonport, 16 the high in Burnie. Campania the best, 22 after Liawini hit the low of -4. Temperatures above average over the southeast. Bushy Park hit 21 today. St Helens 20, Grove 19 after a frosty -1. Liawini did warm up to 18 later on. Friendly Beaches 17, Lowhead 16, Strawn and the Islands 15 degrees. Very little cloud over us today. There was extensive cloud cloud to the south and also off to the east coast, and more swirling around the west. We have some low-level cloud over coastal parts of New South Wales, Queensland and the top end. An isolated thunderstorm sat over the Kimberley. The rest of the nation pretty clear. Tomorrow, a high maintains the status quo over the southeast of the country. Troughs continue over inland WA and Queensland. North and nor'westerlies, they'll reach 30 knots over the southwest and south tomorrow, and they'll increase over the upper east in the afternoon as well. So we do have a strong wind warning between St Helens Point and Whiteglass Bay, and also from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point. The Upper Derwent Valley expecting a chilly start tomorrow with a frost warning declared for that region. Hobart, a top tomorrow of 23 degrees, a sunny day. Sunny for Geeveston, 23 and 24, warming up at Bothwell after an early frost. Looks like sunny icons everywhere tomorrow by the looks of this. Sunny in Launceston, 21, 17 for Devonport, 21 in Cressy. Sunny weather also for Burnie, a top of 16, 18 the high for Strawn. Curry, sunny and 17 degrees. And it's always sunny down the east coast, and Helens 22, 23 for Swansea and Orford. The fine sunny weather spills over into Thursday as well, with west to northwesterly winds. An isolated light shower over the south and east on Friday, but fine for the rest of the state with light winds. And on Saturday, the showers return. Hopefully some good falls over the drier catchments too. Maybe a thunderstorm over the Furneaux Islands. Further north and partly cloudy in Perth tomorrow, a sunny 26 in Adelaide, fine in Melbourne as well. Some cloud cover over Sydney and Brisbane, and a tantalising 35 in Darwin tomorrow. Clear and 15 in Hobart at the moment, 14 in Launceston, 13 in Devonport. Lots of sunny icons on the map tonight. That's great news. Back to our icon, Kim.
Oh, spare me. Thanks, Murph. And that's all the news from the 7 Tasmania team for now. Thanks for joining us. Good night.